Turn off your heating for one night. Just one. No blanket upgrade, no space heater, no hoodie. Now take away the walls, too. And the roof. That's not a hypothetical. That's Tuesday for a human being 20,000 years ago. And if you got dropped into that world right now, with your phone, your degree, your entire personality, you would not last until sunrise. You would die shivering, confused, and mildly offended that nature didn't care about any of it. Here's the part that should actually bother you. You exist because someone in your bloodline did not die that night. Not once. Thousands of times in a row, for thousands of years, someone made it through. You're not just descended from tough people. You're the proof they were right to keep going. So how does a soft, hairless, sunburn-prone animal survive an ice age that killed off wildlife built for exactly this? That's the actual question. Let's get into it. Rewind to the peak of the last glacial period, somewhere between 26,000 and 19,000 years ago. Ice sheets swallowing entire continents. Flat, frozen, treeless horizon in every direction. No wood to burn in most places. No cover from wind that could kill exposed skin in minutes. And the food supply wasn't reliable either. It was migratory, seasonal, and actively trying not to get eaten. Compare the competition. Mammoths came preloaded with fat layers and fur built for this exact climate. Bears just opted out entirely and slept through the worst months. Humans showed up with none of that. No fur, no blubber, no built-in plan. Just a brain, a pair of hands, and a stubborn refusal to accept the odds. That combination barely worked. Emphasis on barely. Nobody was thriving. Everybody was one bad decision from the alternative. Fire was the first real answer, because cold this extreme doesn't give you time to improvise. Without it, you don't feel uncomfortable. You go into shutdown. So fire mastery wasn't a nice to have. It was the baseline requirement for existing outdoors. And it escalated fast. People figured out you could burn bone and rendered fat when wood ran out, which meant fire could survive in places that had nothing growing at all. But fire doesn't travel well, and you can't hunt with a torch strapped to your back. So the second answer was skin, specifically someone else's. Early humans hunted dangerous animals, partly just for the hide, because a pelt was the line between morning and never waking up. For most of this era, clothing was crude, loose, draped over the body. Functional. Not comfortable. Then around 30,000 years ago, a sliver of carved bone changed the entire equation, the needle. Suddenly clothes could be fitted, layered, sealed at the seams. A tool smaller than your finger quietly decided who got to survive the next winter. People also figured out that rubbing rendered fat into skin cut wind exposure, and that thin slices of bone or antler, worn like early sunglasses, cut down snow blindness. Small details. Genuinely strange to hear about. And they add up to the difference between a functioning hunting party and a group that goes blind or freezes solid. Then there's shelter, and this is where it gets almost unbelievable. In parts of Eastern Europe, there were no forests, no caves, nothing to build with. So people built homes out of mammoths, skulls, ribs, tusks, stacked and layered with hide and packed earth into actual structures designed to block wind and trap heat. Falling asleep every night inside the skeleton of something that outweighed an elephant. That wasn't a horror movie to them. That was home. Cold wasn't the only enemy. Hunger was the slow one, the one that killed you over months instead of hours. So people learned to freeze meat in permafrost, dry it, smoke it, and store it in dugout pits or submerged in ponds where predators couldn't reach it. Hunts were organized, coordinated, timed around migration patterns, because a failed hunt in the wrong season wasn't a bad week. It was a death sentence 3 months later. And none of this worked alone. Group living meant shared body heat, shared food, shared risk. Isolation meant you probably didn't make it to spring. Seasonal prep wasn't optional planning. It was the entire difference between your bloodline continuing or ending right there. Cooperation wasn't kindness. It was the actual technology that got humans through this. Now here's the part people don't want to hear. When the food ran out completely, and it did, some of the darkest survival evidence we have points to cannibalism and violent conflict between groups fighting over the same shrinking resources. Not because these people were monstrous, Because the alternative to breaking a taboo was watching your entire group die of starvation first. That's not a fun fact. That's how close to the edge this era actually was. And the edge kept moving. At a site in Spain called Cima de los Huesos, researchers found signs suggesting the human body itself may have gone through periods of extreme slowdown, something close to a hibernation-like state during the worst winters. Still debated, plenty of scientists push back on it. But separately, we know populations like the Yagan people near Tierra del Fuego developed the ability to sit comfortably in freezing conditions with minimal clothing, their bodies running a higher baseline metabolism just to survive the climate. Evolution wasn't just behavioral. In some cases, it rewired the body itself. So next time your AC clicks off for 4 minutes and you start sweating and spiraling like it's a crisis, remember, your ancestors were rationing frozen meat, sewing their own coats out of dead animals, and occasionally slowing their own